So welcome to session 1, and in this session we're going to be looking at some of the meanings of the terms like faith and belief. What do they mean, and how can that help us to become more faith literate? You'll see that we're also going to be covering issues like what does religion mean, and what is the definition of faith? Is faith belief without evidence? So initially, let's start with what does belief mean? So a belief could be understood to mean a conviction that you hold that something is true or that it exists. So for example, that God exists, or that humans are responsible for the majority of climate change, or perhaps that differences between men and women are mainly socially constructed. Now this might be on the basis of your direct experience or as a result of putting your trust in what you're told by someone. It could be the result of an experiment, a theory, or a worldview. Now, of course, many beliefs are true beliefs. You might not always have 100% proof that your belief is true. For example, the belief that there are multiple universes. And of course, proving that God exists is also tricky. Now, the right to hold or express certain beliefs is protected in law, including many religious beliefs, and this is also the case for some wider philosophical beliefs. So now looking at what the term faith means. So faith could be understood to mean putting your trust in someone or something when there's something meaningful at stake. This might be a religious belief, like belief in God, but it need not be. For example, you might exercise faith by putting your trust in the parachute instructor when you jump out of the plane. Or you might put your trust in your oncologist when you take some toxic cancer drugs. You might put your trust in your colleagues not to steal from your bag when you go to the toilet. Now, you may have heard people claim that faith is belief without evidence. Usually faith will be sustained on the basis of some type of evidence, even if that's not scientific evidence. So for example, your experience of or trust in a person or of people in general. You can also have philosophical, logical or mathematical proofs of things being true. And of course, in a court of law, we are happy to rely on eyewitness evidence and testimony. Or you may have trust in someone on the basis of the qualifications that someone possesses. So the claim that the only valid form of evidence is scientific evidence is therefore not a universal truth, but rather a belief among some people that the only reliable method to establish the truth is scientific evidence. Now, just as in other areas of human life, religious beliefs may go beyond what we have 100% evidence for, and that is where we're choosing to exercise faith. So by exercising a leap of faith, we cover the gap between the evidence that we have and the belief that we hold. So what was my experience? Well, I became a Christian at the age of 28, and that was after having looked into the historical evidence and the philosophical arguments for belief in God and the resurrection of Jesus, and having read the Bible for myself rather than having faith in other people's opinions of it. Previously, I'd rejected Christianity on the basis of what other people had told me, but I'd never actually looked into it for myself. Now, if I ever have doubts about some aspect of my faith, I return to the evidence that I have in order to sustain my wider belief system in the face of a doubt about a particular aspect of it. So I may have a doubt in a particular aspect of Christian belief, but then I still know all the other things that I believe to be true, and those sustain my belief while I wrestle with that particular issue. So therefore I consider that my own faith in God is belief on the basis of evidence. Of course I don't have 100% proof, but overall I think it's the best explanation of a range of issues like the existence of life and the universe, the applicability of mathematics and various other things. So what about the meaning of religion, just to complete the three? Religion could be thought of as a recognised system of beliefs or practices that relate to the worship of God or gods, or an equivalent philosophy or morality for life, for example, Buddhism. So often this will involve particular scriptural teachings or revealed truths. Now, Emil Durkheim, the academic, states that religious beliefs and practices relate to sacred things, which is to say things that are set apart or things that are forbidden, and they unite members within a social community and provide an obligation to live within its rules. Now, many Christians will consider that they have a faith and not a religion, and this is on the basis that they do not have to do anything to make them right with God. They simply have to believe and trust in Jesus' work. Nevertheless, they will still follow certain religious practices and hold certain religious beliefs in common with other members of their religious community. So that's the end of the material. Here's a few questions you might want to discuss in groups. Firstly, do you agree with the definitions of faith and belief in this talk? Secondly, how do you form your beliefs, whether religious or otherwise? And thirdly, what sorts of evidence would you consider to be valid in informing your beliefs?